I don't know what he'd said, but he had not said I love you, but he knew that I was saying I love you too.
I know that Blake Lively became very unpopular during this press tour.
Quite a week ago, I went home and saw my family.
The long and the short of it is, I like my boobs.
Are you team
Right.
Blake or team Justin? And people forget there's another team. Hey, Toodle-Doos. Welcome back to the pod. We're not for everyone, and neither are you. This is a podcast hosted by a hater. That's me, Caroline, and a lover. That's Jess.
Jess or Hess or Hossaka.
Halsika.
Yeah, sometimes you got to give it a little extra oomph,
I like that because it makes me
Today I
think
feel
of,
it.
in the Grinch song when they're like, you're something, 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 and you drive a crooked horse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
So it
Okay.
makes
I
me
have to
think of
reveal.
horse and
Look at that horse.
look at that horse.
I do have to reveal. I know that song now that you say it, but I'm going to say something that I think is going to upset you, which is that
Oh
I'm pretty
no.
sure I've never seen The Grinch in full.
Which one are you referencing?
Any of them.
Oh. I mean, I know
Yeah.
people like you exist, but
I'm not opposed to it. Like, if we were to have a Christmas movie night and you wanted to watch The Grinch, I'd be like, sure, let's watch it. I should see that. But
yeah.
it's just
I
never happened.
I
I'm not
really
going to choose it.
understand. Yeah. I can really see the Jim Carrey Grinch, which is the Jim Carrey Grinch and the cartoon animated like 30-minute Grinch. I can't remember who narrates it,
Does
but
that?
the famous, I don't know, whatever. Both are actually classics in my family, but I also, especially for the Jim Carrey Grinch, I can see it being one of those movies that like if you didn't see it as a kid and you didn't love it as a kid, I don't know for sure that you would love it as an adult.
Okay. I mean,
That
that's
one makes
probably
sense to me.
true of any Christmas movie. Like I
Yes.
just revisit the two that I loved as a kid,
It's
basically.
nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if The Grinch was one of your two, then that's what you revisit
Yeah.
every year. Like there's no watching new ones other than the trash rom-coms on Netflix that are like
Yeah.
holiday themed.
Like
Okay,
some
I thought you were
people
going to be way more
love
mad at me for that.
No, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad. I forgive you. Some people, I know, like some people really love and grew up with watching what's it called? A Christmas Story with the little kid,
Oh yeah.
Ralphie or whatever. And I watched it as an adult and I was just like, this is kind of depressing and like
Is that the one
gross
with
and
Stooge or Scrooge? Scrooge.
no, that's a Christmas Carol.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've
Um,
seen I maybe
yeah.
have seen it once, A Christmas Story. It doesn't
It's like
like
it's with the
call
real
to me.
people and that has like the famous like iconic like leg lamp and the little
Oh,
kid all wrapped up in his Christmas coat and I think he gets his tongue stuck on a pole in the ice and
sure. I
I don't
feel
know,
like
he's
it's
just like
based in
living a hard
Chicago.
life.
I feel like a
It
lot of
could
those are
be.
based in Chicago, like the
Hmm.
like Home Alone. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm very Home Alone.
Yeah.
The Santa Claus with an E because
Correct.
it's a clause in a
Correct.
document in legal documents. And then Elf is the other one. And we watched Elf.
Yeah.
We watch Elf, I'm pretty sure, every year as a family. At least my sister and I do. And I'm pretty sure my parents have like been present for that. But this year we all watched it and my dad was like amazing. He loved it so much.
Oh, that's so cute.
And I was like, Dad, we've definitely watched this with you before. And he's like, I've never seen this, but it is
Yeah, he
magical. Like
watches
he
every
loved it.
year.
Yeah.
It was the first year his heart was open to the spirit of Elf.
I think so too. I really think that was it.
I think
It was
I
cute.
love Elf, but I somehow watched it too many times this year. I went to like three or four like live showings of Elf, and I went to one
Oh,
with my mom at the Kennedy Center, did like an orchestra live accompaniment and showed the movie.
okay.
And
Oh, that's cool.
I went with my friend Ashley and her boyfriend. It was supposed to be a double date, and then Justin couldn't come, so I took my mom.
Oh,
And it was sweet. It
cute.
was sweet. Um, I kind of never know how my mom is going to show up to those things. Like she could bring an evil energy, but it was
With
pretty good.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
we
feel the
went and
same with
saw
mine.
Elf. Yeah, you never know. And that's part of the
Hmm.
fun of it. You're like, what's gonna happen? I'm bringing my mom. And my friends side texted me and they were like, oh, we're bringing gummies or edibles or something. Like, do you want some? And I was like, oh, weed doesn't sit well with me, but thank you. Also, I'm bringing my mom. But then I mean, I guess if I wanted weed, I would have had it, but like I just it doesn't weed never like does well with my anxiety. But
Yeah.
I did have like some little mushroom chocolates in the freezer that a friend made and no one had ever tested.
You
And I was
always do
I always
this.
do it at the wrong time.
You're like,
But
let
this time that's what
ever tried before. And actually, no one has ever tried before.
no one has
At this
ever tested them.
like prestigious Kennedy Center evening with my mother, who I'm not
No.
sure if she's gonna show up.
Well, I was like, I know I always make this mistake. I always make this mistake and I do shrooms at the wrong time, but I was like, I'll just take a tiny amount. I'll just take a tiny, tiny amount. So I took like one tiny square. I was like, can't be that much. And went and it was correct of me. Like I did it was barely
Okay.
anything. In fact, it was so little that I was like, I don't maybe they were duds. Like I'm not noticing anything. Like maybe the lights feel a little brighter, but I'm not even sure. Like if I wasn't scanning looking for changes, I wouldn't have noticed anything until we got to the climax of the movie where like Santa's sleigh can't take off and um all like the news people start singing Santa
Yeah.
Claus is coming to town and I started weeping. And I could and it wasn't like one little tear. I was like, "Oh, I'm just tearing up a little because it's sweet and I'm lame." No, I wept. I wept for
Oh,
5 minutes and I was like,
for the
"Okay, they're
Christmas
working. The
spirit, for the
shrooms are
Christmas
working."
spirit.
That was the shrooms.
Wow.
And my mom was like,
Honestly,
"Wow."
that's a good outcome from that, I would think. Maybe you just needed to get that out
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have
Yeah.
without
Felt
them.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get a cry out. I think not having a cry is like not having orgasmed in a while. It's like crank it out, dude.
It's like weird to me when I notice that I haven't cried in a while. Like I feel worried about myself because I am a frequent crier, but also just because yeah, like you have to find something. If there's nothing making you cry, first of all, congratulations. I don't know how that's possible, but also find something.
Find
Immediately find
something.
something. Take shrooms and go watch
Awesome.
Elf
Yeah.
at the
Go
Kennedy
watch
Center
Elf with your
because
mom.
yeah.
When was the last time you cried?
When was the last time I cried? Probably like a week ago. I don't think there was anything more recent than like a week ago. And I don't even remember what happened. Just something didn't sit right with me. That was, I think, said to me or something. I
Yeah.
just cried a little
It
bit.
just hit you at the wrong moment. It can just like be that domino that sets you off.
Exactly. I think that
Yeah.
it was like that sort of thing, which is why I can't even really remember
Yeah.
it. But, I'm kind of like bracing. The fact that it's been a week is like, uh-oh, what's the rest of today gonna look like? What's this episode gonna look like?
Yeah.
When's the last time you cried?
I think I cried a week ago. I definitely go in phases of where I'm crying 3 times a day, and then I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't even remember the last time I cried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cried a week ago. I went home and saw my family, and
That always brings tears.
oh my God, yeah. But I tried to sit down. I spent like my brother wanted some help setting like goals and stuff for the new year and like organizing, and he's
Nice.
so ADHD that I was like, sweet, I do this every year. Like, we'll do it together. It's gonna be so much fun. And then I was away for a while at the end of December and I spent like a week putting together like all these documents and doing all this research and organizing like an hour long thing to do together. And then
Mm.
Elizabeth, sorry to put you on blast, Liz, you don't listen to the podcast. Elizabeth was like, I want to come. And I was like, I don't want to do this for you, but fine, you can come if you want. And so she like weaseled her way in. I did this like hour long sit down thing with my siblings. And then like my sister just started being really rude to me, like, and obviously
Mm.
intentionally trying to make fun of me and make me feel really bad and like
Ugh.
laughing at me. And it was just so, there was nothing to do. And I've learned, I was actually really proud of myself. I've learned to just like not do anything and not react because that's the most effective with her.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, cool. All
Moving
right, good
on.
job, guys. Like, that was good. And then I just went and sat in a room with Justin and silently cried. Because the other thing is that if my sister sees me cry, then I'll be in trouble for that too. So
Mm.
I've learned I have to hide crying from her. She's a
That's not
she's a
fun at
complicated
all.
character. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I understand in a way. Like I can feel that way around my sister. She has like a type of teasing that she does that to me feels very brutal, even though like to her
Hmm.
it's teasing. And for my whole upbringing, it was like Jessica's sensitive. Jess is the sensitive one. Like she's the crier. Like you can't even poke her a little bit and she'll just break down into tears. And then as I've gotten older and like lived a life where I tease my friends, they tease me back, that's like one of the ways in which I can
Hmm.
find joy and humor
Yeah,
and
it's not that I
laughter
can't
day to
tease,
day.
dog.
Yeah, it's like,
Hmm.
no, you're like, you guys are poking at certain things that you just
Yeah.
shouldn't poke at.
I immediately believe you.
And,
I don't know the details and I immediately believe you.
you
Yeah.
know, like, and I think I've gaslit myself for a really long time into being like, wow, I just can't handle teasing and I'm just so sensitive. And like, until very recently, I've just like taken stock of
Fuck
all
that.
these parts of my life and
Fuck
I've been
that.
like, yeah, no.
Fuck
It's a
that.
bit much. It's definitely a bit much. I'm definitely warranted to feel the way I feel about it. So if
Yeah.
it's anything like that and possibly
Oh,
even worse,
totally.
like I
I was
very
called
much
sensitive.
understand.
That was always my sister's attack of me is that I'm so sensitive. And
Yeah.
let me tell you what, no commentary on your sister, no commentary on my sister. Uh, you want to guess what like the number one most common catchphrase of a narcissist, whether covert or overt narcissist is?
You're being so sensitive.
You're
Why are
too
you being so
sensitive.
sensitive? Yeah.
You're just no, not even
Yeah, they don't
being,
want to
but
know
just you
why.
are. You are so sensitive. You are too
Mm,
sensitive. Anytime somebody says that to you, you don't have to put a diagnosis on them because lots of other people can say that too. But
yeah,
huge red flag. You just don't say that when if you actually care about. It's like because that's a difference between intentions and impact. Okay, let's give our sisters the benefit of the doubt. They had completely innocent intentions. That's how they joke with everybody. It never goes over badly.
right.
Well, that's the intention and the impact is separate. Once you see it has that kind of impact, you care about it. You just care about it or you're being a rude person. So,
Yeah.
if somebody tells you you're being too sensitive, it's it's you're not. It's just a rude thing to say.
I feel like the dynamic that would happen in my family was actually, I don't know that my sister ever told me I was being too sensitive. I feel like my parents told me I was being too sensitive in reaction to comments by my sister. So like
Yeah,
she
also
wasn't the one
unhelpful.
doubling down, but I would like be sad and run to my parents or they would just like be around and see what was happening and
Invalidate,
they would
invalidate.
put that on me. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Sisters are probably like the most complicated relationship on earth.
yeah, they are. And like
I have love for
the
Caitlin
relationship
and I have love
ebbs
for
and
my sister,
flows.
but yeah.
Of course. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I love them,
Yeah.
but it's so interesting how you can end up so different from your
Oh
siblings.
my
You're like,
God, it's insane.
everything was the same. Even Caitlin and I went to the same
But they
college. We
weren't.
went to the
Everything was
same
not, it wasn't the same.
school, but it wasn't the same. Of course,
It
it wasn't
wasn't the
the same.
same.
Birth
Yeah.
order is such a big influence in how kids are treated.
And you also
Even
have
just like,
different parents. You get different parents than
exactly,
your siblings. You do not have the same
exactly.
parents.
Your
Yeah.
parents, 4 years later, like the distance between my sister and I is 4 years. My parents were in a different part of their careers, a different level of like financial stability, a different um, way that their social life worked, like a different
Mm-hmm.
dynamic between the two of them. They had had a daughter for 4 years prior to having the second one. Like all of those things make it different. So it is obviously it's so much of like a nature versus nurture thing, and the nurture part is very heavy on the nurture,
Yeah.
and like the
Put her in
conditions and
Nurch.
environment and timing and whatever. But it is so funny. Like we are very different, my sister and I, and it's just the two of us, and we love each other probably more. I'll speak for myself. I think I love her more than anybody in the world,
Hmm.
but she also pisses me off more than anyone in the world. And like
Yeah.
I cannot figure out how to have like a long term, just like peaceful existence with her.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I
I think
could.
I saw some, it was maybe it was an Instagram reel or something that was just like, it's so annoying when people say about their friend, like, oh, she's like a sister to me. I love her like a sister.
Mm.
Because a sister is someone who you want to drown. That's how you love them. You want to
Yes.
drown them. That is what a
Yeah.
sister is. Don't tell me. I don't love any of my friends like a sister because I don't wish them physical harm.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. That reminded me, just thinking about like physical altercations as a kid. My dad always tells this story about me when he came to pick me up from like daycare one day, and he walked up into the classroom, and I didn't know he was there yet. And I was just like, I think like a little boy was kind of teasing me, bullying me, something, just poking at me, whatever. He likes you. I'm sure that that is what like somebody would have told me at the time.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. He only
And
hits you because he loves you so much.
right. We need to
Uh-huh.
stop feeding that to little kids. But nevertheless,
Hmm.
that I never saw this little boy again, so it's fine. But he was like poking at me, and my dad walked in and saw me just like standing over him, like making myself taller to
Nice.
intimidate him and just like
Oh.
stand over him and be like, get get the fuck out of my face, basically. And
Was
my
this what
dad
age?
loves telling that story. He told Ryan that story recently just to be like, she'll take you down. Like she might be small
Aw.
and sweet, but when she was like 4, I walked into daycare and she
Oh.
was, making it known that she was not to be messed with. And I really love that story. So
Oh,
I
that's a
wasn't
great
that
story.
sensitive. I know how to stand up when I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being sensitive isn't a bad thing anyway. Gosh, stop using it
So
as an
true.
insult. I'm in touch with my feelings. You should try it.
You should. You
Yeah.
should. You're probably taking them out in the wrong way, homie. Okay.
So you have to tell me this is what I want to share as someone with small boobs.
Sure.
So I feel like this might be specific to having small boobs, but I don't know. So when I get my period and my boobs swell, like I don't know how much the average woman's boobs swell. Like I don't know how they measure that. Like I don't know what the weight measurement is, if it's like carats or like what. But let's say the
Carrots
average
like the
woman's
diamond
like the
carrots?
time.
That's what you
Yes,
mean?
my gemstones. Let's
Your
say the
gemstones.
average woman's boobs takes on like 2 ounces of additional fluid during their period or something because of hormones and swelling. I don't know.
Okay.
But on me, that is double the
What's
existing size of my
Wow.
boobs. So when I get my period, I am not kidding. My boobs at least double in size. At
That's
least.
crazy. You need
Which
different
still,
bras.
it still means they're very small. But to me, but it is a different experience. I look different in every shirt, in every sweatshirt.
Wow.
They like walking around naked. I can see them jiggling in a way. They don't jiggle for me otherwise. Like they are, I have a different woman's boobs. It's like such a drastic size difference.
That's
And
exciting.
I get so excited. I'm always telling Justin, I'm like, I'm sorry, these are the biggest boobs you've ever
You've ever
seen. I
seen.
was like, I'm sorry, these are so big. He um he will not burst my bubble, but it's
Oh,
just a weird, I don't know if that's the same when you already have big boobs. Like I feel like your boobs could not be doubling in size,
oh
but
my
maybe
God.
I'm
Can you
wrong. Can
imagine?
you like I'm wrong about that, right? I don't think they could be doubling.
If they doubled in size, I would have like gotten a hysterectomy a long time ago
You
or
would have
something.
floated
Like,
away like the grandpa
yeah,
in Up. Yeah.
that's no, absolutely not. No, I cannot tell the difference between my boob size when I have
Wow.
my period versus when I don't. Like, I can feel that they're a little more tender,
Okay.
um, but I cannot see a noticeable, visible difference because whatever it
They're
is,
already
two
big. Yeah, yeah,
ounces or
yeah.
whatever, is like not notable on, yeah, a large chest, I guess. Um,
I'm
so
sure
I
it's like
don't
a
get
percentage
it's
of
a percentage.
body fluid or something, but I swear to God on me, it is very visible difference. It is,
Yeah.
and they're still tiny. This isn't really a humble brag because they're still just tiny little chocolate chips, but it feels huge to me. It's
It would be
crazy.
cool if mine got smaller, like the bigger your boobs were. There's like a turning point, maybe at like a C cup or something
Do
where it
you want
starts
them to
to
be
be.
smaller?
Some days I want them to be smaller. In general, no. Like I love my boobs and I think they're proportionate to my body. Like even though if you literally just
Mm-hmm.
like held one of them, you'd be like, this is giant. But they are
Yeah, to carry
proportionate
that
to my
weight.
body.
Yeah.
It is a lot of weight to carry. But I'm
I have a
strong.
dear
I
friend who
lift.
got I have a dear friend who got a boob breast reduction
I have a lot
recently.
of friends who did,
She was pretty. Oh,
but
really?
they
Okay.
are people who, first of all, their boobs were even bigger than mine, and their
Yeah.
frames as people are smaller.
Okay.
So
So it was like
it was all about
crazy.
the proportion. It was like
Yeah.
these boobs for that person's frame is causing pain. And so I have several friends who did boob reductions and are super happy with it. But I've never really seriously considered it because I do think it's proportionate for me. But there are days, and maybe these are the days when I'm in my cycle, in the period part of my cycle, where like I guess I guess maybe I can see a difference if I wear certain bras that like need to fit in a very specific way, like not my day-to-day bralette, but like more of a low cut bra for a low cut dress, and like a centimeter more of my boob is pouring out of the edge of the
Mm.
bra than usual. Maybe that's maybe that's my signal that like I'm in my period or something. I also don't get my period, so I never really know. I've talked about this. I like never really know where I am in my
Oh,
cycle
right.
until like one day I cry and like my boob hurt when Ryan jokingly squeezed it in the kitchen, and I'm like, "Oh, I probably am like in my period." Like that's the
Okay.
only signal that I have. Um but yeah, anyway, the long and the short of it is I like my boobs most days. But it is a it is a burden. I mean, I'm doing the Lord's work by carrying them around for all to
I was gonna
see, you
say,
know,
crossed a bear.
cross to bear.
Someone's got to do it.
The sign of the cross across them.
It's the sign of the cross that splits the titties down the middle, and then underneath.
Exactly. That's
Boom,
exactly right.
chicka,
Like a
wow.
harness.
Yeah, a little harness. I was thinking, oh, I came up with an invention. Support for Not For Everyone comes from BetterHelp. And listen, we all know I'm a big fan of therapy, but I wasn't always. I first went to therapy when I was 16 and I was forced there. I wasn't there by choice. And it wasn't a good experience. A, probably because I wasn't there by choice, but also because it just wasn't a great personal fit between me and this therapist, who I'm sure was good at her job. But you also need like a good personal relationship. And that means that a therapist I love may not be the best fit for my best friend, even. And every time I do encourage someone new to try out therapy for the first time, this is my biggest hang up, knowing that their experience is dependent on them finding a good personal fit with a therapist that's right for them. This is one of the best things about BetterHelp. You can switch therapists at any time. If it's not the correct fit, you just need a different vibe. You need someone who has more humor or has more levity or who has more experience with trauma or disabilities or whatever it is. I mean, you can always be matched with a therapist that is perfect for you. You can switch at any time, no additional cost. The other thing I love about BetterHelp is that it solves the other biggest problem for people, which is just like the hassle of getting connected with someone. Just getting in the door is usually the biggest hurdle that keeps people from, you know, taking their life by the reins and improving it in the way that therapy can. I really love these problems that BetterHelp solves for people. It is fully online. It makes therapy more affordable, more convenient, and it serves over 5 million people worldwide. You've complete access to a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, a wide range of specialists. You can easily switch therapists at any time, no extra cost, like I said. There's just a lot of big problems that BetterHelp helps to solve for somebody who is looking to get that extra help, but it's intimidating. They don't know how to get through the door. They're worried that, they might go see someone and it won't be a good fit. And then it's been such a hassle that they're just going to quit on their therapy journey. Like, that's usually my biggest fear with people is that they'll meet a therapist, they won't like the fit, and then they'll just give up because it's hard. So BetterHelp is one of the best recommendations I can give for this. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/notforeveryone today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/notforeveryone, all spelled out in letters.
Oh, please.
Speaking of a harness, I'm really into the underwear. More about my period. You have no period. I'm completely ruled by my period. Um, I've gotten really into the underwear recently that you just like bleed into them,
I love
and they're fucking amazing.
when I was getting my period, I used those
They're
and
fucking
they're
amazing. I
amazing. Yeah.
Since I tried them, I have not used a tampon since, except maybe when I had to go in a pool or something.
Yeah.
And it's better than pads. I feel less like I'm like wearing a pad feels more like I'm wearing a diaper. I also just talked about this in a vlog. I feel like the vlogs and the podcast are just completely combining. Anyway,
Whatever.
um, whatever.
I'm
But
here now, bitches.
thank you, bitches. But yeah, they're amazing. My only complaint is that they do have thong ones, but I haven't tried the thong cut yet because I'm like, is that really going to give me the
Yeah.
period coverage I needed? But then I came up with a design in my head. Let me describe it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a
Need to
regular
close my eyes.
thong. Okay, close
Yeah.
your eyes. Yeah, hands in the pants, close your eyes. So it's a regular thong,
Right.
but then the way that you have like the whale tail that goes up over the top of your butt cheeks, there's
Mm-hmm.
another whale tail that kind of goes down underneath your butt cheeks. So it's almost like the strap of like a, what's it called? A girdle
Yeah. I
around the top of your
understand
leg. So it
kind
can
of what you're
kind of
saying.
extend a little like trampoline underneath your petunia to catch all your blood. And I think it just gives it more surface area without squishing it into your butt cheeks.
Yeah, so basically, are you kind of saying that is it called the gusset? Like the part of the underwear that sits at the bottom
Yeah, it's
underneath
kind
your
of like
vagina?
a reverse. It's kind of like a reverse. Instead of open gusset, it's almost exclusively gusset.
Yeah, it's like wider. The gusset is wider, and maybe it gets even a little bit wider at the bottom of your butt in the back, but
Yeah.
then it goes to thong until you're back at the
Yeah.
top.
You know
Yeah.
what I think maybe a better way of describing the visual for people is it's just regular fucking underwear, but there's holes for your butt
For
cheeks
your
to come
butt.
out.
I don't know if that would serve the purpose of a thong, which to me is like no panty
Well, there's
lines.
no panty
Because now
lines.
you
That's what I'm
have
saying.
circles on
No,
your
they're
butt.
not circles. They're not circles. They go all the way around.
Okay, yeah, to the front. Okay.
Yeah, to the front too.
Okay. No, I think I see it. And I think I'm down. I've never tried the period thongs either, but I
Me
have
neither.
plenty of like the briefs because I like to sleep in them
Hmm.
when I was getting my period. Um, and I have wondered like, would the thong do anything? But now that I don't get my
Yeah.
period, I'm actually still considering them because
You pee
I
your
feel
pants?
like they could be good for working out, like even just
Oh.
sweat
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
making sure that the area stays
Mm-hmm.
kind of hygienic while you're working out. I don't know. I change my underwear like 3 times a day. I'm
Same,
very
same.
obsessive about the cleanliness there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking about getting like trying the thong version, not so much for period blood, but just for like general
That
moisture
sounds
wicking.
great. How about we
Yeah.
just start fucking putting that shit into all women's
Like, how about
underwear and
it?
pants? How about we just fucking start doing that, dog? I
It's
was
literally the area is like
uh
swamp. It's like skin touching, potential
swamp.
liquid touching. Like, what are we talking about? Can we
I
get
know.
this figured out?
I
Women
was
don't get any support at the end.
I
Go
know
on.
I'm annoyed all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I was smiling when you were describing that because I was sitting in my living room with Abby, our editor, and a friend the other day, and I was sitting on the floor because I love sitting on the floor. And I was in like, I had like my knees close up to my chest. And at some point, I accidentally, like, my hand made contact with my legging vagina. And I was like, oh, that feels pretty wet. I was like, I guess I peed a little. Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I'd be peeing, whatever.
We're in our
Maybe it's sweat.
30s.
I'd worked out. I was like, maybe it's sweat. Maybe I peed. Who cares? I didn't even get up and go to the bathroom. I was just like, whatever. It's just Abby. And I
Yeah.
just sat there, I guess, just like lightly feeling my wet leggings and just being like, whatever. Look at it, Abby. And then Abby and my friend left, and I went to the bathroom, and I'd like forgotten about this wet legging spot. And then I went to the bathroom, and I just had my period everywhere. And I was like, oh, I was just sitting there, just like
Just and you
just covered
knew
in
that
my
it was
period, and
wet.
letting and just being like, whatever. I don't need to go to the bathroom.
I've
Gross.
definitely done that.
Yeah,
Sometimes you don't, especially if it's light and like
it was
it
not
is mixed
light.
with sweat because you had worked out. You kind of can't tell. You can't
Yeah,
tell until it's all out there. This is Is this graphic? I don't know. This
I
is
don't
real,
really
guys.
care. I've just
Yeah.
decided I don't care anymore because it's graphic to who? Every single woman who listens to this podcast either
Knows what we're talking
experience
about.
this now or they're, older and they did experience it. And I'm fucking overacting like it's gross. And like, if a
Right.
man, it's okay. We have some men in our audience. I know that. And I understand. Not every episode is going to be for everybody. Hashtag not for everyone, even though we love our male audience. Yes, this is a whatever. We're doing a lady heavy one, but I'm tired of acting like it's fucking gross. Get fucking
No.
stop.
I
Yeah,
also just
stop.
have I just have decided about our male audience specifically that
That they're great.
they're great and they seem like the type of men, and we do get
Yeah,
messages like this sometimes who are
yeah.
like, it helps me understand women more, like my girlfriend more, like
Mm-hmm.
also you talk about things just with dating or like male female dynamics that it's helpful to hear your perspective on as
I'm
women.
so
So anyway,
glad.
they're the woke ones. Um you guys, you 10% of men here should send this episode to your other male friends and just freak them out and be like, this is my new favorite podcast. And the first 30 minutes is period talk. And they'll
And
learn something
titties.
and they'll be better for it. Yeah. And they'll hear
Yeah.
about our titties. That's good. They get
That's what
both.
I'm saying. I did
Yeah.
meet I met a couple actually at a wedding over the summer. Hello you guys if you're listening. They were
Hi.
fans of the podcast and they were so sweet. And I think the guy was saying that he liked listening to the podcast because it felt like being on a fly on the wall for just like
Yeah.
everyday girl conversations. And I was like, "Well, that's what it is." But I never thought of that as being
Valuable for men.
that valuable, despite the
Yeah.
fact that I was like, let's make a podcast about it. But I never thought of it as, I guess, being specifically valuable to men, straight men. But I was like, oh, I guess it is. It's like we're not catering to, because the conversation would be different. Unfortunately, honestly, I think the conversation would be very different if there was just even one other guy here,
Oh, yeah,
you know?
totally. It would.
Yeah. And it's like just being able to talk. Look, I'm just praising us now, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
like it was nice
We
feedback to
deserve
hear,
it.
and I that's the change I want to see in the world is just hoes being hoes, dripping
Hoes
through
be
their
hoes.
underwear, not caring about it. Like I was wearing my period underwear to the gym yesterday, and as I said, the only downside is it's like this pretty big brief underwear, so it does have the panty line.
Yeah.
And I thought about it for a half second wearing this to the gym. Usually I would wear a thong to the gym, and I was just like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, guys, I'm wearing underwear. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you can tell I have a butt that wears underwear. I
I
don't give a
know.
fuck anymore. I don't give a fuck.
I know.
Fuck
No,
you.
I'm so with you. I've felt that way for a long time, but I still, it depends on the day. Like some days I'm like, I want to look extra,
Mm-hmm.
extra like I don't wear underwear, And then other days I'm like, I wear it, guys. I'm
I
always
wear
wearing
it.
it. I'm actually always wearing it, even on the days when I want to look like I'm not wearing it. I'm still
I'm
wearing it.
wearing it. Is that the
Surprise!
secret?
There's still underwear here.
Surprise. I have a healthy female body. Oh my God.
Oh my God. And I change it all the time. All the
Okay,
time.
I have a pop culture. I know I'm just shoving topic after topic at us
I'm
right
loving
now.
it.
Okay, this is one that I really want your weigh in on because I feel like this is a rare instance where I'm pretty up to date with some pop culture shit,
Okay.
and I feel like you'll have good
I
takes.
wonder if
So,
I am.
are you keeping up with the Blake Lively PR
Oh,
drama?
I know at a high level about this, but I'm not keeping up with like every
Okay.
step of it. Yeah. This
Okay,
is
I'm
definitely
not
a hot
keeping up.
topic.
I know I'm not keeping up with every step of it, but I do have opinions about what I wish was happening,
Okay.
and then also my actual opinion on what's happening.
Okay. Should
And
we
I think it's
give
so important. I
should we
do
give
think
a
we should give a
background
summary.
on
Yeah.
what we know?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. What I know is that Blake Lively was in a movie with Justin Baldoni. Is that his name?
Correct.
And
P.S. Who the
after
fuck
the
is that?
movie,
Never heard of him. Who the fuck is
right,
that? Who is
agree.
this? Why do we care? Go on.
Yeah. They were in a movie. Is it called It Ends With Us or something? I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
it's called. Okay, I never saw the
Mm-hmm.
movie. So then
Me neither.
during
Looked
the
like trash.
press
Looked like complete
tour,
trash.
right.
Looked like the
During
most
the
obvious trash ever.
Yeah, agree. It was like some romance that no honestly nobody watched, but
It was
more
a
people are watching
romance.
this drama than watched the movie for sure.
Okay, so key point, it was a romance, I guess, but also core to the plot is domestic abuse
Okay.
and domestic
Okay.
violence.
I didn't know
Okay,
that.
so continue, which that
That's
that
pretty key.
that does become relevant. Go on.
Yes. So then after when the movie came out, there was a press tour,
Hmm.
and during the press tour, there were some like comments. I'm not positive about this. I know that Blake Lively became very unpopular during this press tour. And there was
Hmm.
some like footage leaked of her being like kind of rude to an interviewer and stuff like that. I know that was happening. And then I think also at the same time, she had made some comments about her co-star, Justin Baldoni, like making her uncomfortable on set while they filmed the movie. And that then turned into post press tour a couple months later. Now there's like a lawsuit where Blake Lively is suing him. He was the co-star and the director of the movie. Um,
And I think a
and
producer with his production company. I
yeah,
think
like
she's
he
also
was
suing the
basically
production
like
company. Yeah,
he
the
was
guy.
a leader. He was a leader on this set or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so she's suing him now for, I don't actually know what she's suing him for. Do you know? Like the verbiage?
Okay.
Is it
Yes. Well, I know some of it, I guess. I know
okay.
some.
So you take it from here. She's suing
Okay,
him now.
so okay, yes. Very good. You're doing so good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I don't know why the fuck I'm privy to this, 'cause I don't know why. Um, but yeah, so during the press tour for the movie that's about domestic violence,
Yeah.
public opinion, there was a huge turn in public opinion against Blake Lively.
Yeah.
And I had opinions about this at the time where the turn in public opinion, first of all, was that like mostly that people thought Blake Lively was being a little tone deaf in the way she chose to promote her film, which was about domestic
Okay.
violence. And she tried to promote it more with like girl power and like just kind of light and a little frivolous, and
Mm,
people thought it was like a tone deaf way to promote the movie. And then by contrast, it seemed that Justin Baldoni, the co-star slash director, was taking a route of really focusing on domestic violence survivors and abuse and like the cause and all of this. That's what it looked like.
okay.
And I will say I had some deep feelings about this turn against Blake Lively. Like, she definitely, let me say, I've never liked Blake Lively. What's her
Same.
name? Blake Lively.
Blave.
I've never liked Blake Lively. I'm so outfit.
I
I
haven't
have
really either.
never liked her. I never, first of all, I don't know her, so my opinion doesn't matter. But also,
Correct.
no one else knows her. And I never understood why people liked her from Gossip Girl. To me, from someone who has never met her, just like anybody else who has an opinion, she never seemed very likable. She never seemed very nice. She never seemed super creative or genuine or had much purpose to her work. Like, I didn't really
Yeah.
get it at all. But and I felt a lot of that coming through when public opinion was turning against her. Like, people don't like, it was basically, it's like she didn't commit any crimes. They were just like, we don't like what she said, or she was kind of rude, or she like, yeah, she like, I don't find her charismatic. I don't think she reads the room well. I don't think she has great perception of how to present herself, and I don't like her. But that's also not a reason to cancel someone. Like, sorry,
Yeah.
not everybody has charisma. So I think that's how I feel about that. Was like, I think it was still, is as much as I like don't like Blake Likely at all, I think she's probably like,
You can.
I don't I don't think she's a bad person, but like I don't think she's like a good person. But
Yeah.
it also feels very misogynistic of me to be like, well, we don't like exactly what she said because it wasn't the perfectly like charismatic most blah blah. That's some other mean women shit. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you don't get to cancel someone for that. You can just not like them that much.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I think I have a feeling like her trajectory in her stardom has been kind of like breakout star, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, loved that movie, loved that moment in time. Then Gossip Girl happened. And yeah, around Gossip Girl, I was like, she's actually like the least interesting.
I was gonna
here.
say she has all the personality of a chair. Like,
Yeah,
I've never understood her talent is a piece of white bread. Her personality is a chair. I've
yeah.
never understood I mean, I guess she's pretty, but like, is that it? They're all kind of pretty.
But then I
What?
feel like something else that happened in her trajectory is like more current day.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna
Everybody
say.
found out that she's friends with Taylor Swift, and I feel like that
Oh,
like boosted her into
yeah, that is
relevance again,
weird.
where she had not been that relevant. She's married to Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds and
Reynolds.
she is friends with Taylor Swift, and I feel like that boosted her back into relevance even though she's not really been in that many things, and like
Yeah.
people didn't really feel all too compelled by her performances up until then,
Mm,
but it made her like a socialite type of person. Like,
that's
oh, okay,
true.
she's friends with Taylor. She goes to Chiefs games. And I know there's like a cohort of people who aren't Taylor Swift fans or who hate Taylor Swift, but Taylor Swift is like the biggest star right now. So
I feel like
we can
there's
at least
something,
say that that did
yeah.
bolster Blake Lively just by being next to her.
I also wonder if it bolstered her particularly because she kind of does have the aura of mean girl energy, even though we don't know her and I don't know if that's true. So I think pairing her with like Taylor Swift, who is
The
like
nice girl.
she built whatever she is now, she built her original music career on being like the kind of dorky, awkward
Yeah.
girl. And so I feel like pairing them together honestly makes Blake
Makes her more
Lively
relatable.
seem nicer in a world of misogyny where nicest is the best thing a woman can be, and
Yeah.
it's really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
far
correct.
on the
So far,
exact
so
same
good.
page. Yes.
I also want to add that I felt like I saw a lot of stuff with her coming up in recent years with her relationship, her marriage to Ryan Reynolds, and I will say their whole performative
It's
love
weird.
gives me the ick. It
Yeah, it's
feels
weird.
very wife guy.
100,000%.
A
And the
million
wife guy is
percent.
always the guy you should be wary
Yes.
of. Yeah.
Yes. I will say, as someone who has a, iota of the fame that they have, whatever, is iota mean a tiny?
Yeah. A
It's not the
tiny.
same. A tiny, it's not the same, and I acknowledge that. But it is amazing to me how quickly I learned how much I did not want to share. Um, like I had to learn this through experimentation, but now it feels so important for me not to share like the most lovey stuff with my
Yep.
boyfriend to the internet, specifically because of watching the trajectories of so many of these wife guys, and I never wanted to have to worry if my boyfriend and I were being sweet to each other because of the social media attention it got us. I
Yeah.
never wanted to have to worry that, especially as an anxious person. And you see so many, I've heard like interviews and stuff with social media and like other celebrities who, especially social media people, because they're like selling their life more, who
Yeah.
like got a divorce and then were like, I don't know, it was hard to tell what was for the content and what was
I've
really our
seen that.
relationship. And I never ever wanted to have to worry about that. And so I think when you see people doing that for like a long time, it's like you're just not that smart or it's worth it to you to sell out
Yeah.
the greatest love of your life for a little bit more social clout and attention. It's weird.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. Even me with the teenier iota.
Little IOT. We got
I
IOTs
feel
over
the same
here.
way. I feel like I've been thinking about this lately. Like there's certain things that Ryan and I do
Mm.
that I'm like, that's fucking adorable. And part of me wants to like
It would
shout
be
it
so
off a
postable.
mountaintop.
Oh
Yeah. And it
yeah.
would be
Oh
so
yeah.
like fun to talk about here and whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I've made a decision about, I can think of like three kind of like
Yeah.
recurring things that we do that I'm like, I'm not going to share them. Not even for that reason, although I've definitely seen like those YouTubers who publicize their relationships a lot and then they end up breaking up and then they post that video and then they talk about some of the things you just said. So I've definitely seen that trajectory play out and that is something that I would be afraid of if I was like on that level and doing that. But even just to keep it intimate, like I do
Mm-hmm.
share a lot of it here, a lot of things between me and him and a lot of challenges, but also cute things and whatever. But there are certain ones that I'm like, that is so us that I'm not putting it anywhere else. Like it needs to stay
Yep.
very, very close. It's like
I love that.
sacred. So
Yeah.
yeah, I find it weird when anybody. like just consistently blast it all out. And like it does feel
Yeah,
very performative with them
it
because they're
does.
literally posting like tweets and
Tweeting back and forth to each other and
yeah,
like,
like it's just like, what
my
are you in the
wife.
same house? Go talk to each other. Like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it doesn't look that weird from a distance, but I feel like the more I've had any
exposure
kind
to
of
this.
like watching of me and my relationship, it was very quickly that I was like, oh, it feels completely wrong and weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But let's get to the lawsuit. Quick check in. When was the last time that you bought new underwear? I think we need to talk about this. I do think that I, a podcast host that you occasionally listen to, need to ask you what's going on in your underwear drawer and why do you still have that pair that you've had since college? You're better than that. You are most certainly better than that if you're here listening to this podcast. I think very highly of you, and I think that you need to refresh your underwear for a change, for a goddamn change. It's 2025. What are we doing? Skims is sponsoring today's episode, and I couldn't be more thrilled about it. I do talk in this episode about how many times a day I change my underwear. You can bet your bottom dollar that underwear is Skims underwear. I am closely approaching a point in my life where my whole underwear drawer is the same. It's just different cuts of the Fits Everybody collection from Skims. And I feel like it's what I've always deserved. I am specifically a big fan of the Fits Everybody full brief. Now, listen, when you tell somebody that you wear a full brief, they are thinking granny panties. Girl, I got a big butt, okay? I got a big butt and a bigger heart. And the full briefs from Skims, it just hugs me in all the right places, makes me feel supported, makes like my tummy in the front feel like it has coverage while still looking cute on the butt, giving a little bit of cheekiness. It's just the perfect amount of coverage for my figure and what I'm comfortable with in my day-to-day wear. So that's my number one rec from their underwear collection if you are in the market to refresh that drawer. And then I've talked about it so many times, the Fits Everybody bralettes. I have every color, every shape. I have so many of them. It's basically the only bra that I wear until I actually went out on a limb and bought an underwire bra from Skims too. So I just got the Fits Everybody t-shirt bra. I have not been wearing underwire since I discovered their bralettes, and yet this underwire bra supports my 38 double Ds without hurting. It looks great in like outfits that require a little bit more of that lift and separation. Just this line is the best. Shop Skims best intimates, including the Fits Everybody collection and more at skims.com and Skims stores. After you place your order, be sure to let them know that we sent you. Select podcasts in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows.
so that happened, and then the lawsuit, Blake Lively sued, I believe, him and his production company since for accusing him of allegedly conducting a calculated smear campaign to tank her public reputation.
Yeah.
And there's texts and there's emails and there's all this stuff and whatever. It looks like there's a lot of stuff out there. Also, nothing has happened in court yet, so like we don't know what happened, whatever. And then he countersued the New York Times. I guess that's not a countersuit; it's just another suit to the New York
Okay.
Times, who'd published an article saying like Blake Lively sues for this, whatever smear campaign, and I think he said the New York Times like cherry picked um,
Oh, like the
evidence or
contents of
alleged
that.
evidence, left out stuff, and like
I
did
didn't know
some
about
very
that.
irresponsible reporting, blah 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 blah. And then I've unfortunately watched too many YouTube videos on this
I've like
where,
tried to stay away from this for
yeah, I don't
some
know what's wrong
reason.
with me. I think it's interesting to me all the things that are getting wrapped up in it.
It is very
Um,
interesting, and it also feels, I mean, I'm like actually very interested and excited that we're talking about it right now, and I'm very interested in your opinion about it, like more than just some person on the internet's opinion about it. I mean, maybe you're a person on the internet to the people listening, but to me you're my friend and I'm interested. I'm interested in what you think about it, so I'm happy we're talking about it. But up until now, although you kind of like can't be online without hearing about this. Like it is everywhere. So I obviously know enough about it. I have tried to stay away because it feels like icky. Like
it feels
something about
icky
it
and
just keeps
annoying.
getting ickier. And I'm kind of
Yes,
like,
yes.
I don't like either of these people. Like,
Yes.
first of all, neither of these people
Yes.
was like on my radar really before this. And then now that they are, I'm like, I don't like you. So there's
Yes.
no one I'm rooting for. So then it makes me kind of check out of it, even though
Yes.
it also is very interesting to dive into like salacious stuff of people that you don't like. So I'm here
Jess,
for both.
this is why you're king. We completely agree. And no one else seems to have fucking said that, which is I just think they both suck. I just
Yeah,
think as soon as like the PR as the press tour happened, immediately people were picking sides like are you team
right.
Blake or team Justin? And people forget there's another team, which is that all y'all fucking suck.
Yeah.
And this like picking one side, I find to be so juvenile. It applies to very few situations, and I certainly don't know what the reality of this situation is. Reading through the different lawsuits, I think I was actually swayed a lot onto, as much as I dislike Blake Lively, I think I was swayed a lot onto her side where this guy really, whatever, I'm not the judge, but it does seem like there were a lot of things where they were really taking illegal retaliation steps against her for speaking up and asking for a mediation and intimacy coordinators, and like they definitely seem to retaliate. He doesn't seem like a good guy, and also she seems completely fucking intolerable. And the nuance there is that like if the to me is like both of you can fucking suck, and I
Yeah.
think they both fucking do. And to me, Blake Lively does not seem super likable. And being unlikable also doesn't mean that you're immune to sexual harassment or sexual discrimination. I feel like people think like, oh, either she's a mean girl and Justin was right, or Justin's a misogynist and Blake is a good girl. It's like, actually, I think she's a rude bitch who I don't like and I don't want to know. And it's possible he also discriminated against her. And it's possible that she was also fucking rude and annoying and a diva
Yeah.
and he did illegal things too. It's like, I think you guys both fucking suck.
Yeah.
And why
Can
is
I
no one
clarify
talking
something?
about that?
Where does the
Yeah.
sexual harassment come in? Because I knew that there were
Yeah.
claims or something by Blake that like he had made her feel uncomfortable on set, or maybe I don't know if it's I don't know where it is on the scale of like made her feel uncomfortable to sexual harassment. And then I don't
Yeah.
know if that's part of the lawsuit or if that was stuff. I feel like that was stuff that somehow came out during the press tour
Yeah. I heard
and
about
it
that before the suit too.
right, and it added to her reputation sinking somehow. And
Yeah.
that's why she's suing him and claiming that his
Interesting.
team tanked her reputation because it would be like retaliative of him and his team
Yeah.
to tank her reputation in response to her saying that like the way that he was with her on set was inappropriate,
Yeah.
basically.
I
Like I just
honestly,
want to make sure we don't lose that part.
I know I cannot tell what is true. That's why I kind of am interested to hear the official ruling and how the
Yeah.
cases are presented in court, because they definitely seem like things where on paper they've each presented a side that like each of their sides seems like a coherent narrative that I can
Hmm.
empathize with. Like reading just hers, she talks about things like him forcing himself into her trailer when she was fully naked, getting like body makeup removed, and
Okay.
him forcing his
Wow.
way in and like threatening her that she couldn't talk to producers if she didn't let him in. And there are other witnesses there. So, like, I assume we'll get to hear from witnesses who are removing the makeup. And then she was like, fine, you can come in, but you can't turn around. And then he turned around, like, gawked at her anyways. And, like, yeah, sounds pretty disrespectful, sounds pretty inappropriate. There were, but like, there will be witnesses and like I mean we haven't heard the rest. And then she also talked about him like showing inappropriate like sexually explicit videos to her and like wanting to
Mm.
have her orgasm live on camera and like not having an intimacy coordinator, and like all those things sound incredibly inappropriate. No man I respect would do any of those things. And
Yeah.
then when you hear the way he frames it, he says that these quote sexually explicit videos he showed her was a video of him and his wife when his wife was giving birth in a home birth, and there's nothing sexual about it, and they were
Ugh,
showing it because
weird.
they're filming a birthing scene. So it's like, if that's true, then it's like, I don't know. I genuinely can't make a judgment on these
Yeah,
things because that's why they're having a court case. I really don't know, and I do feel very cognizant of being like, I mean, I don't know. That's why there's a fucking court case. If it was
100%.
simple, if it was simple, then it would be simple, but it's not. And I'm very interested to hear whatever the whole thing was. And then he also says that I think his team is claiming that she that apparently, according to him, who knows, the inciting incident was when he inquired with her about her weight because something was wrong with his back and he was concerned about doing like a certain lift they had to do in a scene. And then
Okay.
she took that and like claimed body shaming for him asking like a logistical question about how much she weighed. And then I think she like claimed to quit the movie or something over that. And and then he and then I think like somebody told her like she would be replaced and it would be a really bad look for her. So his narrative is like now she knows like what, I don't know, the bad behavior associated with that. And so she was trying to get ahead of it by with this lawsuit and saying no, he was the one doing all these things inappropriately. And it's like, I'm not saying he didn't do any of these things. Maybe he did all of them. Honestly, he sounds like he sucks. And
Yeah,
also, she sounds like she sucks. And
for
that
different
doesn't,
reasons.
for different reasons. And that
Yeah,
doesn't mean that she wasn't a victim of sexual harassment or mistreatment or any of these. And she seems so fucking annoying. And that's her right to be so fucking annoying. She still gets to have her day in court. And also, he fucking sucks. Also, I think what also turned me against him, I just hate both of them.
yeah.
I think what else turned me against him was hearing that he started his like production company Wayfarer Studios or whatever is specifically a production company about like letting women be treated right in the way they deserve to, like different blah blah blah. It's like, first of all, just start a production company. If this is such a given right to women, why do you have to make a show of it? Like, that already sounds like a sus man who wears feminism
Wife
for
guy.
social clout kind of thing. It's a wife guy move. It's like, just
Yeah,
start a production company and don't talk so much about how you're going to treat women normally with respect. Just fucking do it, dog.
yeah.
And then they didn't have all these protections in place, and
Unreal.
their words didn't match up with his actions at all. So like, yeah, they both sound awful.
Yeah. It's so crazy that that is so, so common. Like the guy who posts the most on LinkedIn about like women should
Mm-mm.
have the same opportunities as men in the workplace. Like think about how you're treating the women on your team or like whatever. Why think about why you always ask the women to order the lunch for the meeting, even if they're executives just like you.
This
Like
is saying a
weird,
lot about you, dude.
weird like LinkedIn, LinkedIn is its own social media that has like these memes and blocks of
Gross.
text and things that like make the rounds. And
Yeah,
it's always the dudes who are sharing that are the dudes that I've worked with who I'm like,
you
you are the
suck.
worst of all of them. Yeah.
Yep.
This is so performative. Like nothing that you actually do in practice in the workplace matches up with like the fact that you want to perform that you
Yeah.
care about how women feel at work. So that
Mm-hmm.
totally, totally tracks. I think that it's so if they find that he and his team did like do this smear campaign against her to ruin her reputation, I think that it really points to like they
I
really
mean, that would be
knew
horrible.
something,
Yeah,
of
that would be
course, but
horrible.
they also
Yeah.
really knew something about how society works, which is that
Mm-hmm.
if there's a woman who's already not really that liked,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to take her down or like what's the point I'm trying to make? Like I guess they
Yeah.
they
You
really
can
hit on
silence her
something.
voice. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Like if she's already not liked and then she's accusing you of doing something that maybe you actually did do and maybe actually is really fucked up, you can take her down very easily and like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to believe you because she's not liked and she's just a
Uh-huh.
woman and like
Yep.
it'll just be easy. Okay, let's just quiet her. So I am like in this situation, of course, without knowing what actually happened. I do lean towards what Blake Lively is positioning and
Yeah.
posturing, positing. That's the word I'm
Positing.
looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and also I haven't liked her for like 15 years, and that's okay. And
Yes.
I can feel both ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Jessica, we're twins. That is
Yeah.
exactly what I was going to say. So earlier I said I wanted to talk about this and say what I hope, what I wish was happening. So I was in the shower thinking about this because apparently I can't stop thinking about it. I do think it's so interesting. And what I fucking wish, and I know is not true, but a rumor I'd like to start, and what I wish was happening is that these two fucking idiots who made this movie about domestic violence.
This poor
And the
movie.
movie, the movie looked I haven't seen it, but honestly, it looked extremely cartoonish. It looked like the kind of thing that boils down domestic abuse into something extremely black and white and something that's like just so basic and like cartoonish almost that
Yeah.
I actually think it does a disservice to the social awareness around domestic abuse because it means that unless the abuse you experience looks that black and white, then you think you're not experiencing it, which is like unhelpful. It just looks
Yeah.
very like basic, like a I don't know, like a sixth grader's idea of what domestic abuse is.
Hmm.
And what I fucking wish is that they released that movie and that together they were working on the same team and decided to do this as a whole piece of like real life like installation art or whatever it's called, and they're playing out this whole scenario because the scenario they're playing
Oh,
out
fascinating. I
much
love that.
much more is much more relevant in conveying what actually happens with abuses and retaliation against women for speaking up, which is what's much more likely is that they take like professional retaliation, they can turn public opinion, they help people not listen to her because they've made her unlikable, blah 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 blah. That's the real deal.
That's a story to tell.
Now they're giving us the real lesson.
Yeah.
And the author, the movie was based on a book called It Ends With Us. The author is now writing a sequel called It Starts With Us, or a prequel. And none of this is true, but I wish that book was
Was not
just
this.
revealing Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni sitting down and plotting this all out together about how they're going to impart a true lesson for once to the whole
Yeah.
world about these gender dynamics. But
That
that's
would
just
be
what I
wild.
wish. None of that is true. And the reason I know it is because they're both idiots and they're both so fucking precious about their public reputations that they would
Yeah.
never in a million years gamble one single percentage of that in order to do something this interesting and worthwhile. I
Yeah.
think they both just suck.
Suck.
And agree that, yes, just because we both find her extremely unlikable doesn't mean she wasn't also a victim of these abuses. We don't know what the court case will say, so I'm interested to hear that. But don't stop listening to someone just because you find them supremely unlikable.
Yeah. It can be both.
It can be both.
It ends with
And it
me.
also doesn't mean, and even if it's proven that like her accusations are false, it still doesn't mean that I like Justin Baldoni. Like I definitely hate them
True.
both.
None of, none of my opinion is actually about like how this shakes out. You know,
No.
that will corroborate some of what I'm thinking, but like, I just don't like these people. Yeah.
I feel like I can see like what these people would be like in person and just like you have those friends, maybe it's like a friend who's involved with some like horrible guy and like you love your friend but like your friend is also being horrible and they get into these ridiculous dramas and you're like yeah, you're both being monsters, like of course this
Mm-hmm.
is what you're going through.
You
Or
bring it
maybe it's a
out in each
family
other.
member, or maybe it's like two friends going at it, or like two distant relatives and you're like yeah, you guys are both fucking disgusting. Like, I'm not surprised that this ended up in court. That's kind
Yeah.
of what I feel like it is.
It is one of those situations of like these two people kind of deserve each other. I'm not saying that like if the sexual misconduct is true, then obviously no one deserves that. So that's not what I'm saying. But just in terms of like, yeah, the way this is playing out in the public and the lawsuits and like the retaliation back and forth and all of that, like, yeah, so wild. So wild. Um, I have a funny story that's like maybe a lighter way to end things. It ends with my funny story.
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple days ago, I was out for drinks with my best friend, Kai, and we were talking about the Ravens, our favorite football team, who have progressed to the playoffs. Go us. And we like had a conversation about it. And then the conversation was over. And you know, the lull in between a conversation and like the start of a next one. So we were kind of like both leaning back and being like, like on to the next topic. And she goes, I just love. And before she could finish her sentence, I just like decided that I heard her saying, I just love you to me. So I go, oh my God, I love you so much too, or whatever. And she finished her sentence while I said that. And she was saying, I just love Lamar, who is the Ravens quarterback. And so she's sitting back and going, I just love Lamar. And I'm, oh my God, I love you so much too. And we both like stopped in our tracks and I screamed in the bar. I was like, this is my best friend for like 15 years. I know she loves me.
No, but she
But it was
also
just
loves
one of those moments
Lamar.
of like, oh my God, this is an embarrassing moment that happens on a show where like a girl
Yeah,
thinks a guy is telling her that he loves her. And
that
then
happened to me.
has that happened? That was going to be my question if
Yeah,
that's ever happened to you. Oh
it did.
no.
Wait, finish it. What happened then?
Well, I said I love you so much too. She said I love Lamar. I screamed in the bar.
What
The
did Lamar say?
bartender,
What did Lamar say?
Lamar's not there. I love Lamar too. He's a great quarterback, but that's not what I thought the moment was about. And my hand was like in the middle of the table, and she reached out and grabbed my hand and was like, I love you more than anything. You know that. And it got very dramatic. And then I was
Screaming.
like, you're gonna have to fix this. Like she was like, yeah, she was like, I don't think I can let go of your hand. And I was like, no, this is on you to fix. Like you're
You
gonna have
already
to
let
fix
go. You're gonna have to fix this. That's so funny. You're fucking drama
it
king.
was the funniest. We laughed for a really long time. So now it's only been 2 days, but every time that we've communicated since then, we text each other, I love you, Lamar, and just go on with whatever we're saying. Yeah, that's the conclusion of my story. Tell me your story
That's
now.
cute. Oh, it was the first time I told someone I loved them. It was my first boyfriend. Maybe not a first boyfriend, but the first boyfriend, yeah, I said I love you too. This guy was like 21 maybe in New York. And we were out getting like ramen or something. And
Sounds
I
good.
swore to God, he said, I love you.
He
I,
said, I love the
I,
ramen. He loved the ramen.
I swore that's what he said. And I said, me too. And then he
Nice.
looked at me, and this is why he was an asshole. He looked at me with these kind of mischievous eyes, and he was like, what did you say? And then it was in that moment, it became clear that he had, I don't know what he'd said, but he had not said, I love you, but he knew that I was saying, I love you too. He was so
Oh,
mean. And he was like, what'd you say? What was that? And I like in that split second realized it, but I'd like already said it and like I was obsessed with this guy. And so I was like, okay, I have to say it now, but I couldn't bring myself to say the words. I just mouthed it. I was just like,
yeah.
I couldn't even say it out loud. It was so shameful. And then he was like, ha ha, ha, I love you too. Ha
No.
ha, ha. He didn't
Oh
mean
my
it. He
God.
definitely
No,
didn't mean it.
sure, he didn't mean it.
I don't know.
Ugh,
I
that's
feel like
awful.
based on the way he cheated on me the whole time, he probably didn't mean it that much.
Pretty much that sealed the deal. That sealed the deal that he
Yeah, he
too
literally
just
like
loved
laughed at
Lamar.
me.
He loved Lamar before Lamar
He
was
did love
even
Lamar. He was like, "Did
playing
you say
football.
Lamar too?"
Did
Haha,
you
me
say Lamar
too.
Jackson, the
Did you
Baltimore
say
Ravens
Lamar Jackson?
quarterback in 2024? Yeah, same.
Oh, who's your favorite quarterback?
I love you too. Me too. Me too.
Me too. I think he's my favorite. My That was my top pick.
This is top. He's a top. He's a top.
Ugh,
I have your love on top. I went to karaoke last night and I sang Love on Top by Beyonce, and that's why I said that.
that's great.
But I also love
That's
you
great.
on top. What? I'm trying
Thank
to wrap
you.
up this episode. This is how I'm doing
I'd
it.
ride it. I'd ride you
I'd ride that
platonically.
horse.
I'd ride
I'd
that
ride
horse
that horse.
platonically.
I've ridden that horse platonically, I would say. That's what we do every week.
Yeah.
We be
What do you
riding.
mean?
We be riding our
Who's the
horses,
horse? Who's the horse?
both of us at different times, probably.
Nay, bitch. All
Nay,
right.
bitch.
I think this is pretty much the dregs of what we have to say.
Okay, perfect. Send this episode to a male friend of yours. That's what I want more than anything. Please share. Actually, just share any episode that you've liked recently. Share it with a friend, share it with somebody who's going through something. Maybe they need a laugh, maybe they need to think. You can choose. You can choose your favorite. We're not for
Send it to
everyone.
somebody who's really unlikable, but also may still have been a victim of a crime.
That's actually more specific than I was going to go, but specific instruction works well for these calls to action. So yeah, let's do that. Let's send it to your Blave likely.
Your life likely.
Until next time, toodaloo.